Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again. I have got a really short experience today, so this one won't take long to read through. I don't know how long the episode will go for, depends on how much commentary I decide to give, but whatever you do, just try and listen to the experience, because I've had a quick skim through, haven't read it in detail, and there's lots of what I like in there anyway. Lots of, I can see the word love there written lots of times. So from my point of view, it's going to be a good experience. So let's hear what Laurence L has to say about what this other dimension is like and what we can all look forward to going back to at some point in time. Okay, this is Lawrence Experience. My name is Lawrence. At the time, I was 34 years old. It was April the 23rd, 2001, and I had to meet someone and then get to an important exam for a diploma that same morning. I was nervous. I usually took the 4-lane highway to the training centre. But that morning, I heard on the radio that there was an extensive traffic backup on the road. And so, not wanting to be late, I decided to take a smaller, more winding road. I never was to make it to the meeting though, or the exam. I skidded and lost control of my car while I was speeding over a lot of wet, newly mowed grass that was strewn all over the road. The car rolled over several times and my head crashed into the car roof. I had an instantaneous feeling that I am going to die, along with a sincere feeling of repentance and the thought, this does not matter. I've still had a good life, even though I will no longer be there for my children. And it's too bad, but Lord, forgive me. And then everything went black. Suddenly, I became aware of a light in the far distance. I can't see my body, but it feels like I'm seeing with my eyes. I feel a lightness, and I am moving forward. I know, I think to myself, and as soon as I feel as if I know, I also have this indescribable feeling, stronger than any emotion I have ever experienced. It is pure love, and I feel others around me. I can only make out one silhouette. It is my Father. I know that we are many, but I am linked to them and they are linked to me. I am connected to my Father. It is powerful. I perceive that He thinks I shouldn't be there and that I am going to have to go back. I am in a halo of wonderful thoughts. Then I do go back. It's brutal. When I open my eyes, I see the blue sky. But I hurt, I suffer, I can't move. I'm lying on the road. My back is shredded. Blood is oozing into my eyes, into my mouth. And this man is saying to me, I'm here, everything's going to be fine. The firemen are on their way. I'm not going to leave you. Look at me, I'm a rescuer, hold on. I can't even find words to describe the pain that is radiating through my head and my body. I revisit what I just experienced in that black halo, that tunnel where a brilliant and wonderful light illuminated my eyes, where I felt good, at peace, with a feeling of having acquired an immense amount of knowledge, my own knowledge and everyone's knowledge, as if we were all one and yet still ourselves. I am all the others and myself too. We are a magma of love, or how should I say, I am love within love. And that knowledge, it's like a medicine that soothes all fears. Then you become love inside love. And when I went back, I knew that I did know everything, and yet I could not remember it. I know the impression stayed with me, but even if I no longer know what it is, it stays. It is knowledge. It's soft and beautiful. I said to the Lord, I do not remember all the thoughts that were exchanged with them during this near-death experience, but I remember there was a strong thought about my children, and that I wanted to be there. I wanted to be present during their weddings. I wanted to be a grandmother, so I went back. They made me think of my kids. I did not see Jesus or God, but what a powerful love I felt. After my long months of recovery, I thought about all those on earth that are deprived of love and all the feelings of sadness in their hearts. Not even on earth could I feel such emotion. It's encouraging for those who suffer and want to be wrapped in love. I thought about these men and women who are religious and about their priestly sacrifice and their reward in that love. I thought about these things by myself for a long time. It took me 5 years to really physically recover, but spiritually, everything changed in my life. And I told myself, you did not lead the life of a saint, did you, Laurence? And yet, when you said, Lord, forgive me, you received love in return. Then another chance. What more is there to say? God is not the one who selects. I'm sure of it. I did not see hell, but I felt the forgiveness. It's us who either want or reject that love. The remembrance stays, yes, after the car was smashed by rolling over and over, resulting in my head getting crushed against the car roof, and finally stopped in its wild rush and fell violently on its wheels. I wound up with my face embedded in the steering wheel. Then I saw darkness, then nothing. And then suddenly the tunnel and the light. That love inside me. That feeling of being so much better than better. Loved, repaired, forgiven, with everyone joined as one, and my unique self. All together, it's the life that truly awaits us. Nevertheless, I went along for a small portion of that trip before I had to come back, but I returned full of emotions, of lucidity and peace. Since then, there have been many manifestations, supernatural male visitors and female visitors, and events too, and some real intuitions. I am a link. I stay a link that I know. This link has stayed between them and me. I feel at peace, and mostly life does not worry me anymore. I never did take my exam, and no longer seek financial gain, glory, or material goods. I want a quiet life until I leave, a life full of love with my close ones, and then I want to offer that love to those who need it. That's what you take with you. I have the following sentence always in my head. How did you love, Laurence? How did you love? Love. It's the only thing that filled me during that fabulous trip through that tunnel towards the world of light. And that's the end of Laurence's experience. So let's have another look through that again with a bit of commentary from myself. So here we have Laurence on her way to an exam, and she has a traffic accident. Now, I've never been in a serious traffic accident, but and and I never really want to be in one, but obviously this is the way that a lot of these experiences come about. Someone has a serious accident or a suicide attempt, and this is what causes them to lose their connection to their human self, and their consciousness is able to leave their body and experience a different dimension. So for Laurence, this means she's in a car, she's rolling along the road and hits her head on the roof, and then she is the way she describes this entry into the next dimension is she's having this thought. So I guess this is when she's in her human self. She's thinking, okay, I'm about to die. And then kind of the next and as she's thinking this, she's sort of, I don't know, trying to convince herself that this crossover to death or the next dimension or the afterlife or whatever you want to call it, she's saying to herself, okay, I'm going to die, but at the same time she's saying this, this doesn't matter. I've had a good life. I mean, she's only what did she say, 34 years old, so she's young, she hasn't lived very long, and the only kind of doubt she's having about this ending of her physical existence is, look, the only real downside of this is that I'm not going to be there for my children. And the last thing she thinks or says out loud before she blacks out is, Lord, forgive me. So this is what is going on through Lauren's head. So as soon as she says that, Lord, forgive me, she becomes aware of a light in the far distance. Quite often this is the case. People might go through a tunnel or they'll see light in the distance. I don't know. I think I would have spoken about this before. I've done, there's like over 100 episodes. So, most of this stuff I have commentated on before because there's a lot of repetitious elements to these experiences. But yeah, I guess this light in the distance, it's just, I don't know, is a symbolic thing. Why is it always this pinprick that's a long way away and slowly comes closer? I don't get it. Is it to add an element of I don't know. I'm kind of lost for words, to be truthful, but yeah, I guess I'll just leave it as just one of the ways that the light reveals itself to a soul that's crossing over. It seems to be a fairly common method for that to occur. So there she is. She's in this other dimension. She can't see her body, but at the same time she feels like she can move around. She can still see, because she can obviously see this light in the distance. So even though she's not seeing with human eyes, her ability to perceive things visually is still there. And that's another aspect that is a miraculous part of these experiences, the fact that people still continue to have that visual aspect to their experience. But not only that, there's, it's always, the senses in this other dimension are present just as they are for us as humans, but often they're a lot more pronounced, profound. You hear people who are blind who can see suddenly, people who are deaf who can hear suddenly in this other realm, and often it is described as a lot more vivid, a lot sharper, a lot clearer, the perceptions as well when they are in this other dimension. So not only all that though, not only do you have all these senses in this other dimension, you have the ability to move around. I don't understand this. It blows my mind. How can something without a body, without a form, move around? But yeah, it seems to be done through the power of thought or intent. And if that's where you want to move, you just think about it, and that's what happens. So here she is. She can see, she can feel, she can move, but she doesn't have a body. She can see this light in the distance. She's slowly moving towards it. And then she says to herself, she just says, and the way it's written is, I know, in inverted commas. And as soon as she starts thinking and feeling this, I know, she has this indescribable feeling, stronger than anything she's ever gone through on earth. And of course, she describes it as pure love. And then she feels these beings around her. She doesn't say she sees them, which is interesting. It's more a feeling, more a sensation, more an intuition. And and then the next sentence she says she can actually make out a slight silhouette without any real distinguishable features. And she says that she feels a very strong connection to these other, I don't know, what would you call it? Souls, spirits, consciousness, beings. All she knows is that she feels like she's still an individual entity, and there's other individual entities around her. But then she sort of says in this next sentence that feels very connected to them, and she is them, and they are also her. And this conglomerate of beings are all connected to the source, or she calls it Father, and I guess there's lots of words you could use there. God, love, So she's, those few sentences there are quite difficult to get your head around. I every few experiences will come across this, and I will try and explain it again. But so she's an individual entity. She's experiencing other individual entities, but this is difficult to get your head around, because she is saying that she is not only herself, she is these other individual entities. And these individual entities are somehow separate from Source or God, but at the same time make up Source or God. So it's like these spirits, when they cross over, they feel this connection, this oneness, this space where you are everything, but you are also an individual at the same time. And she's really enjoying this experience, it sounds like. She says, it is powerful. And then she says that she gets this gut feeling, intuition. There's no form of communication at this point. She says that she just feels that God is trying to convey to her that she shouldn't be there. She should be going back, and she needs to go back. And she is in this place where she's in bliss. She is experiencing awe, wonder, and joy. And I guess when you're in that state and you're told you have to come back to Earth, it's not the nicest experience to have. She's no different, because after God says that, bang, she's back in her body, and she says it is brutal, because she opens her eyes, she feels pain, she's suffering, there's blood everywhere, her back is shredded, and then this rescuer comes along and says, look, the emergency services are on their way, everything's going to be fine, just hold on. And then she closes her eyes and tries to go back to that place she was just in, this heaven-like state where there was no pain, there was no suffering, just contentment and bliss. And she starts reflecting a bit, I guess, on where she's been. She's no longer there, but she just starts writing a bit about more of what she recalls from being in this other dimension. And these are common things that we hear from other experiences, just she doesn't go into a hell of a lot of detail, but she says she had an immense amount of knowledge. She was able to tap into whatever source of knowledge she liked. She could go and explore someone else's life experience and get the knowledge they gain from them, and make that knowledge their own. And I guess when I read that, I think maybe that's part of the reason, another reason that this whole planet and this experience we're having as people is occurring, because it it gives source, and it gives us as individual spirits and other souls the ability to increase the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding of how the universe works. Because without us doing what we're doing, living our lives on this planet, there's no way that that knowledge could be gained. So just us living our lives is doing the universe a huge favor, I think, because it is, even though it might not seem like it at times, you're just living your little quiet life. It's giving the universe information and joy, I guess, in acquiring wisdom and experience. Because obviously before this physical universe was here, we were just spiritual beings that didn't have the opportunity to partake in a physical experience. And now that we are here doing that, we are growing, we are learning, we are evolving. But I guess at the end of the day, it's kind of irrelevant, because underneath all that, we are pure knowledge, we are pure love, and that part of us won't ever change. But with that wisdom, knowledge and expertise, we can use the creation of the universe to explore exactly what we are. And to come to a place like Earth means we come to a place where there is darkness and there is suffering and there are challenges, and that obviously runs counter to a lot of what we're used to in this other dimension, where it is a blissful state of love, connectedness and joy. So to come here is hard on a number of fronts. But, like I just said, I think the experience we're all having is valuable not only to us as individual entities, but to the universe as a whole. So yeah, she's reflecting on what's happened while she's, blacked out or just shut her eyes in too much pain and suffering on the road. And she's saying, again, she's kind of reminding herself, she says, I am all the others. And I guess that applies to us right here. We are, I am you who are listening, and you who are listening are me. And when I read that or think about that, it's difficult, but to understand, because obviously us on Earth, we are so individually orientated, particularly in Western countries, where that sense of self is promoted, and our individual rights are really at the forefront of everything. When you look at other cultures who are more connected and family-based, we are in the West a little bit different in that way. So to think that we are connected, all of us, and we are all a fragment of the source, but at the same time, the source itself, it's kind of confusing, but good to know, and it makes living our life a little bit when I live my life personally, I try to remind myself of that on a regular basis, that if I'm not vibing with someone, or if there's some sort of conflict, I just try to look at what's underneath all that and connect to that person at a deeper level, and try to understand that the ego, the human part of them, is not their true self, and they're just having their experience, and their personality, their point in life is just a whole series of events that have conditioned them in a way to be that they are, and I'm only just seeing one little pinprick of that person at that moment, and it's not always a reflection of what they are like at all times, and there's reasons for people being the way they are, and if you try to just let go of all that and see what's there, that's deeper, that soul, that consciousness, that fellow loving being is then it makes it harder. It makes it easier to connect, but at the same time, it doesn't totally solve all your problems, because obviously, you have your own ego and your own conditioning to deal with, and often that's hard to push through or let go of, whatever the right term is there. So, so she's saying to herself, the Laurence lady, she's saying, look, I am love within love. And knowing that should soothe all fears, and then so she's just reflecting, like, okay, so when I was in this other dimension, I was able to tap into any knowledge I like. I was the knowledge. I didn't need to even ask a question. If I wanted to know something, then I just thought it, and I had that received. And she's kind of thinking, okay, so where's that gone now? Why don't I have that anymore? And she doesn't really go into deep explanation of that, or explain why we lose that knowledge when we cross back into this physical dimension. But that's where she leaves it. All she says is, this experience has taught her that she knows now. She knows what she is, and this knowledge that she had in this other dimension, even though she no longer has access to it, she doesn't. She just kind of, this is the way I'm reading it anyway, says that it doesn't really matter so much anymore, because she knows what she is, and even though it's she's experiencing more of this physical dimension as the human that she came into here as, this is what she is. Her knowledge has gone back to this level. That love feeling she had is no longer as intense. She knows that for whatever reason we are here for, it doesn't matter, and she just knows what she is now, and that's all that matters to her. And this is what the main thing she got out of this experience is understanding that, at our core we are love. So she says she did not see any spiritual masters or experience any deceased loved ones, but that doesn't matter to her either, because she got to experience this powerful love and light. And she starts reflecting a little bit on others who are deprived of love. And she says that she feels very emotions she's having when she starts reflecting on what these other people who are suffering and live without love are like. And she says that for whatever reason, after this near-death experience, she feels their pain a lot more intensely, and just wants to love them back. So she says it takes her 5 years to physically recover, but she's obviously changed from a spiritual perspective. So 5 years, there's some really serious injuries there. And yeah, so what does she say here? So she says before this experience, she was not a saint. She's saying she was a sinner. She was not perfect. She didn't, ask for forgiveness and all that stuff. And then she says, so if anyone was sort of going to go to hell, it was me, because I was not the best person. Doesn't go into detail as to what sort of person she was, but anyway, she's basically saying she wasn't perfect. And then she says, which is, I guess that when we cross over, it's not God who judges us or who decides what is going to happen to us, even though in this experience it's kind of contradicting what she says here, because earlier she did say that God kind of tells her that she's not supposed to be in this other realm yet and she needs to go back, but doesn't actually force her. But so she says it's not God who decides if we go to heaven or hell and what happens. It's totally up to us, and we're the ones that judge ourselves. And this is kind of running counter, I guess, or making a point for some of the religions out there that say that when we die, God will judge us and say, you were a good person, you were a bad person. That's never made much sense to me. How can someone who's born into absolutely atrocious conditions, abused as a young kid, just had no chance, and then turns out to be a serial killer themselves? Like, how can that be their fault when it's the conditioning of this planet that makes them do the choices that they take? And I know that's probably a controversial view to some people, that condition, the way someone is brought up and conditioned is going to directly result in the behaviors they conduct. And obviously there's some element in every decision we make that we can always choose which path we take, but there's people in this world who are born into such conditions where and with such, and have genetic conditions as well, like mental health or whatever, that makes them more aligned to do so-called violent or evil things. And does that mean that they go to hell and when they die and judge says, you were terrible and you did this and that, and therefore you're never going to see heaven? I don't think so. I think it's... I personally think, now that I've had a good long look at these near-death experiences, that someone who's born into a more of evil life and terrible parents, whatever you name it, they're the brave ones. They're the ones that are here to do a mission that none of that I wouldn't like to do, which is hurt others. But why they choose to do that and why God gives people missions to do that, I don't know. But to live a life of violence, suffering, darkness, it can't be any fun. And I think if this is an actual fact and we do choose the lives we have, and if someone does that and chooses to come into a life of quite severe darkness and suffering, then yeah, of course, I consider that courageous. So yeah, she just goes on reflecting and says she feels like very, very touched by this love. This is, has been a pretty profound experience for her. She says that in this place she felt loved, she felt repaired, she felt forgiven, she felt connected, and just she felt herself as well. And this is what, when she has tougher times, she reflects on that, this life isn't really the reality, and we're just having this experience of disconnection, of fear, of darkness, and this is counter to what our true home is like. So her after effects of this near-death experience have been many, she says. She says she has supernatural visitors come and she doesn't say what happens. She just says visitors. So I'm guessing there's some form of communication, whether there's any anything she sees as well, I don't know, but she just feels like she's had this experience, and this has somehow opened her spirit up to this other dimension. And even though she's back in a human body, this connection has continued to exist, and this connection means that she has strong intuition and, I guess, communication from this other realm as well. So she says this accident that she was, the exam that she was going to take, she no longer, I guess it was always meant to be, this crash in a way, because after she has it, she never takes the exam she was on her way to undertake ever again. She just has a total, it sounds like, change in her life. So she no longer is materialistic. She no longer seeks wealth or financial gain. She just wants to live a quiet life and get through this challenging human experience as best she can. She wants to give love out to her close ones, be surrounded by love, and wants to offer her love to those who want it, who need it. Because she says that in the end, like when we die, those things that we think are important to us as humans, like the wealth, the power, the control, or whatever you think is important, I don't know, is not. All that is important is the love that you take with you when you die, those experiences where you gave love out, and that's the main thing. That's what she thinks is this whole purpose, is to spread the love, and that makes a lot of sense. If what we are at our core is loving beings, then of course this mission is, as a human, is going to be heavily, geared towards love when we reflect on it in our near-death experience, and see how much of that we're able to give out, because that is what we are at our core. And the more of what we can spread at our core in a place of darkness and challenging, the easier it is going to be for everyone else. So this is what she regularly reflects on during her human experience now. She'll get up and she'll say, okay, so Laurence, how are we going to love today? And at the end of the day, she asks herself, how did you love? Could you have done it better? Is there more you could have done? So I kind of like that little experience. Didn't go into much detail, but at the same time, it's about the love, and that's definitely what I connect to these days. And hopefully you like that one too. But yeah, just a little experience, and hopefully you enjoyed it and got something out of it. And yeah, hopefully you can continue to down this human journey with me. Feel free to send me an email, podafterlife@gmail.com, if you want to say hi. But other than that, I love you, and I want you to enjoy your time here as a human if you can. And I look forward to talking to you next week. Goodbye.